From March 22 to 26, 2021, we at Auction House Künker hold our spring auction sales 347 to 349. Catalog 347 offers a spectacular collections of Alexandrian coinage, which we would like to present to you here. Are you an expert in Alexandrian coinage? Then you will be amazed by the material of this auction. You have never heard of it? Then sit back, relax, and immerse yourself with us in the world of Egyptian deities and mythical creatures, in the exotic everyday life at the Nile River, and, of course, in the history of the Pharaonic Empire under Roman rule. On September 7, 31 BC, Octavian's fleet destroyed the ships of Mark Antony and Cleopatra. The last pharaoh had chosen the wrong side, and therefore the days of free Egypt were numbered. As early as in the next year, the entire country fell under the rule of the victor. More precisely, under that of Octavian, not Rome. The shrewd politician had learned this strategy from the ancient pharaohs, who had considered their territory to be their private property. And this is how Octavian laid the foundation for his absolute rule over the Roman Empire. After all, it was Egypt's grain that made sure Roman citizens did not suffer from hunger, and therefore guaranteed peace and order. Bread and circuses. The regular convoys of ships from Alexandria to Ostia brought the grain for the daily bread, which the emperor needed to secure the support of the plebs. To protect his monopoly on Egyptian grain, Augustus appointed a knight as governor and forbade senators to set foot on Egyptian territory without his permission. This was easy to control. Geographically speaking, Egypt was a kind of island, bordered by the Libyan Desert on the west, the Arabian Desert on the east, the Nubian Desert on the south, and the Mediterranean Sea on the north. This was the only reason why the Ptolemaic dynasty had succeeded in making Egypt an independent monetary area. Egyptian tetradrachms contained less silver than normal tetradrachms, but anyone who wanted to buy popular luxury goods in Egypt had to exchange high-quality silver money for poor Egyptian tetradrachms at a rate of 1 for 1. Octavian had no intention of changing that. Egypt continued to mint the lightweight tetradrachms, which contained less and less silver over time. When they stopped to issue these coins in AD 296, they had only a homeopathic silver content of 0.6%. Egyptian coins do not stand out for their particularly high quality. Do not expect extremely fine pieces. However, you certainly can expect an incredible wealth of images that offers a glance into the world of the Nile Valley, and that often at very moderate prices. The myth of the divine couple of Isis and Osiris was the center of the Egyptian pantheon of gods. The divine siblings were considered a model for the sibling marriages practiced by the pharaohs, a custom adopted by the Ptolemaic dynasty. But Seth murdered his brother Osiris and threw the body in a box into the Nile. Feel free to imagine a sarcophagus. In fact, the myth is closely related to Egyptian funeral rites. Here you can see two canopic jars. They are vessels whose cover is shaped like the head of a deity. The act of priests placing the eternal organs of the deceased in the four canopic jars during mummifications was reminiscent of Isis, who had done the same. Evil Seth had dismembered the body of his brother Osiris and scattered it all over Egypt. Isis, however, reassembled the pieces. The burial of Osiris was considered by the Egyptians to be the first mummification and a guarantee to resurrection in the afterlife. Many coins are dedicated to this myth. The falcon, which can be seen quite often, is said to be the son of Isis and Osiris. He is believed to have been the first pharaoh of Egypt. That's why, on coins, he is often depicted with a royal crown. Horus was called Harpocrates by the Greeks. The Egyptians occasionally depicted him together with the body of a crocodile. We see him much more often as a thumb-sucking child. This coin shows Isis nursing the newborn Horus. This powerful image was probably an inspiration to create the Christian image of the nursing Madonna. Furthermore, you should know the god Ptah, who created man on his pottery wheel. His sanctuary was in Memphis, where he showed himself to the people in the form of the Apis bull. Ptolemy I had combined Osiris and the Apis bull to form Serapis and endorsed him as the new patron of the empire. Serapis was considered the lord of the Nile and the husband of Isis. Together, they were divine safeguards of a rich grain harvest. That's why Serapis is often depicted with a calatus on his head. A calatus is the basket used by farmers to collect grain during the harvest. Every year at the end of July, the Nile overflowed its banks and fertilized the land with mud. The result of the harvest depended on the water level during the flood. That's why the water level of the Nile during the flood season was measured by means of a Nilometer, and the tax was calculated according to the height of the flood. The ideal water level was considered to be 16 cubits, which is why the god of the Nile is often surrounded by 16 small genii. On coins too, the Nile is associated with the number 16, which is not written in Arabic numerals, but in Greek letters. There was one particular danger to the precious harvest in the bonds: mice. In ancient times, people didn't use cats, but snakes to get rid of them. Perhaps that's why Agathodaimon, the good spirit, was depicted in the form of a snake. Well, it's the economy, stupid. In the land of the pharaohs, everything revolved around the grain, which was brought to Rome by ships. That's why this coin does not only depict a ship, but also the gods responsible for making sure that Rome received its daily bread. Demeter for the growth of the grain, Serapis for a rich harvest, and Isis Pelagia for a safe journey. And that's why Isis and Serapis were also worshipped in Rome. This Denarius of Hadrian depicts the personification of Egypt with a sistrum, an instrument that played an important role in the cult of Isis. Transporting grain to Rome was at the center of the cult of Isis, and therefore Isis became a patron of seafarers. Isis Faria extends her robe like a canvas to speed up the journey. She is named after the Pharos lighthouse, one of the wonders of the ancient world. It was 115 meters high and remained thus the tallest lighthouse in the world until the 20th century. Isis Euploia guaranteed a safe journey, which is why she is often depicted with a rudder. Although we find many Egyptian myths on Alexandrian coinage, the voting citizens of Alexandria consisted of Greeks and Macedonians. That's why there are also many typically Greek images on coins, such as the deeds of Heracles. By the way, in Egypt, Heracles was often equated with Harpocrates, the young god Horus. That's why our Mussulman sticks his thumb in his mouth, just as adorable as young Hippocrates, while holding his club in his left hand. Heracles defeats the Hydra of Lerna, which is once even depicted as a giant in the shape of a human being, an absolutely unique piece that can be only found in Alexandrian coinage. He grabs the Erymanthian boar, hunts the Stymphalian birds, fights the Cretan bull, steals the golden apples of the Hesperids, and cunningly cleans the Augean stables. Heracles strangles the Nemean lion, is faster than the Cernaean hind, and tames the three-headed dog Cerberus, who guards the gates of the underworld. Do you believe in horoscopes? In ancient time, every educated person did. Suetonius reports that Augustus considered his zodiac sign, the Capricorn, to be so auspicious that he had the image put on coins. And in the famous Musaeon of Alexandria, the astronomer Claudius Ptolemy did not only lay the foundations of a worldview that continued to be the norm until the early modern period. He also founded our modern horoscopes by introducing the principle of the ascendants into astrology. Thus, the Alexandrian Mint was at the cutting edge of science with its unique series depicting the zodiac signs. Here, for instance, we can see Mars in the sign of Aries, Venus in the sign of Taurus, and an extremely rare depiction of Jupiter in the sign of Sagittarius. Anyone who knows a bit about the subject knows how exceedingly rare it is to see all 12 zodiac signs united in one collection and, what's more, of such surprisingly high quality. Many other exotic gods are waiting to be discovered in auction 347. For example, the major deity Amun with his ram's horn. We know his horns as an attribute of Alexander the Great. After visiting the temple of Amun in the Siwa oasis, Alexander was convinced to be the son of this very god. We, at auction house Künker, would be glad if we made you a little curious. We would be delighted if you took part in our auction sales 347 to 349, taking place between March 22nd and 26, 2021. Given the current situation, we recommend bidding by phone or via internet. If you have questions regarding these options, please do not hesitate to contact us.